Good evening, guys. Hello. Yeah, am I audible, guys? I think.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, okay. 1 second. I think in last class we completed this file operations, right? Today. Okay. Today we are going to see what are different types of flows. I close this all the thing. Yes, this is your class. Okay. So today we are going to discuss types of flows. So can anyone tell me what is a flow? What is a flow?
The pipeline that we built,
What is a flow? The pipeline means
that HTTP listener, logger, format.
maybe we can write like this one. Sequence of mule events. Okay, so there are different components are there. We can arrange them into one particular sequence, one after the one after another. So they are executing like that one, that we can call it as a flow. So in mule point of view, how many types of flows are available? So as of now, the first one we can call it as a flow, and the second one we can call it as a, so we can call it as a subflow. Is there any other flows are available? So technically these are only two flows are available. There is one more thing is there, that is so private flow. There is one more flow is there generally. So generally we are not we are this one we are not call it as a flow, but we can call it as this one
Asynchronous.
asynchronous scope or asynchronous flow. Okay, so basically when we talk about the flows, technically there are only two types of flows available, the flow and subflow, and some we can modify the flows, then it is converted as a private flow. So if you're using the async scope, then entire flow is converted as a async flow. Okay, so these are the four types of the flow generally available in the mule point of view. Then we are see what is the difference between flow and subflow and private flow, and one by one. So you already seen so far whatever you are created, that generally call it as a flow. Okay, just remember, so what is a flow? So the first component is a flow, right? So when we drag and drop any component from canvas to the mule palette to the mule canvas, so you can closely observe it, that comes with the three parts. Okay, the first one is the source.
Source process.
Okay, so the second one is source part is there. The second one is we can call
Process.
it as a process part. And one more thing we can able to see the end. What is this one?
Error handling.
Error handling. So technically, when we talk about the flow, definitely you able to see three parts. Source part is there, process part is there, and what about third one?
Error
Error
handling.
handling, right? So let me see inside of the flow. So I can close this project and I'm going to open the new project. So I can give types of flows. Okay. So this is the one, for example, I'm drag and drop the any particular component. Otherwise, you can see, you can search for the flow. So you can able to see that technically we can able to see flow is there, subflow is there. So is there any private flow is there? Is there any async flow is there? So technically speaking, so there are only two flows available, but we can make it as some flow as a private flow, some flow as a async flow. You can see when we drag and drop the flow here. Let's see what happens. I can zoom it. Then you can closely observe it. Whatever you are seeing, that is the flow. You can see the flow have contains three parts. The source part is there. The second one is the process part is there. What about third one?
Error handling.
Error handling. That means when we talk about the flow must contain these three: source one, process one, and error handling. What is the usage of the source here? What is the source part?
It acts as a trigger.
That's the one. So just remember, so you need to perform some process part. So how we can able to start this entire process means first we need to trigger that process. Whatever the events you are using, that event component is source acted as a triggering one. Okay. So this is all about the flow. For example, when we drag and drop this subflow, now you guys tell me what is the difference between flow and subflow. The flow contains three part, but whatever you are seeing the subflow, the subflow whatever by default it is comes with only the process part, right?
Hmm.
You can see the subflow contains only the process part. That means empty window it is coming now. Whatever you are placing here, these are called it as a process part. That means for the subflow there is no source is there, there is no error handling is there. So this is the main difference between flow and a subflow. Okay, so what is a flow? The flow contains typically three component: source one, process one,
Process.
error handling.
Error handling.
But whereas in the case of subflow, it contains
Process.
only process part only. Okay, let me do. So there is a third component is there. For example, I am using logger. Let's say now you can see the difference between. So you can see this is a flow or a subflow. First, tell me
Flow. Flow.
whatever you are seeing is a flow or subflow.
Subflow. It is a flow.
This is the one. This window, whatever you are seeing, this is a flow or a subflow.
The logger one is a subflow.
No, no, no. The flow, right? Whatever you are seeing, this box,
Flow. It is a flow.
right? So for the flow, you can say how you can say that this is a flow. It contains three points. Source is there, process
Process.
is there, error handling is there. But technically, is there any source component is there?
No.
Is there any source component is there?
No. Not
No,
required.
that means whatever you are seeing, this is we can call it as a private flow. That means generally we are creating the flows like this one, right? So we can place one triggering unit, and after that one we can add this some logger process part, everything. So generally this is the way we can able to creating a flow. So whatever you are seeing, this is your trigger, that is your source one. After source one, we need to play the process. If you remove the source, then that entire flow it is converted as a private
Private.
flow. That's the one. Okay, technically there is no private flow is there, but when we remove the source part from your flow, then it is converted as a
Private.
private flow. Then what about subflow? What about subflow? Your subflow contains only
Process.
process only, but you can see for the flow we can have the triggering point, triggering mechanism, but the subflow we don't have the triggering. Then how we can call this subflow?
From flow.
How we can call it? Definitely there is a triggering mechanism is there, then only we can able to start your process. So by default,
Correct.
whatever the components you are placed inside of the subflow, those are treated as a process, but there is no triggering mechanism is there. Then how we can start your subflow? So
From
definitely
its
we need to use some trigger, right? That's
correct.
remember. So let segregate all these things, then we can see. 1 second, we can write one by one, then you can understand. Okay. So these are the flows. Let me write one by one here. So for the flow, what are the three components available?
Source. Process. Error handling.
Source, and the second one is
Process.
process, and third one is
Error handling.
error handler. Okay. So what about this flow? Tell me.
Only process.
So is there any source is there? No source. Is there any process is there? Yes, only process part is available. Is there any error handler is there? No error
No.
handler. Then we can move to the private flow. So what is a private flow? Is there
No
any
source.
source is there? No source is there. Is there any process is there? Yes, there is
Yes.
a process part is there. Is there any error handler is there? Yes, error
Yes.
handler is there. Okay. Then the question is, there is async scope is there. We can talk about this one later point. So for the subflow, there is no source is there. Then how we can call this flows means, just remember. So there is one more component is available. By using that component, we can able to call a flow, or we can able to call any subflow. That component name is what is the component name?
Flow reference.
So this flow reference is acted as a triggering mechanism. For example, you are available inside of one flow. So you need to call another flow. Then how you can able to call it by using which one? By using
Flow
which
reference.
connector we can able to use it? Flow
Flow
reference.
reference.
Okay. So technically this is the way we can able to call one flow inside of another flow, and we can able to reuse the whatever the mechanism you are written again and again by using the by creating the subflows. Okay. So theoretically, this is the one. Then we can go and create one simple thing. Then you can understand how really we are using these subflows and everything, how data is propagating. Okay, let me clear all these things. As usually, first I'm starting creating one flow. Then so HTTP listener is there. Then we can start creating of this one. Okay, so I can call it as a what is the one main. Always we can start with the logger. I mean inside of
Main flow.
main flow. So let us assume. Okay. So we are just created the which one?
Flow.
Flow. Right now we
Flow.
want to create a subflow. Let's see how we can able to create it. You can simply search for the flow, then we can go the subflow here. So for the subflow also I want to display something by using the logger. Right. You can see I'm placing the logger and
Inside sub.
inside of
Sub.
subflow. Okay. First, let me execute this one. Then we can add the private flow later.
You have to save.
Save and trigger it. Meanwhile, we can open Postman. So, what is our call? I think main is my endpoint name. Let's start with this. Okay. It's deploy. Then we can call this one. So go and see inside of the logger. You can see which one it is triggered. I am inside of the main flow. Then how we can able to call your subflow? There is no mechanism is there to call this one. So by using the flow reference, we can able to call it. So that where we need to place this flow reference. So wherever you want it, for example, after executing of this logger, I want to call my subflow. Then by using the flow reference, we can able to call this one. You can see the flow reference. That means when we placing this one, you would automatically jumps from this point to whatever flow you are calling. So you can simply select this flow reference. Now you can see downside it is asking something. What is this thing? It is asking
Flow
for
name.
e flow name.
Flow.
Then it is automatically stored all the available flow inside of your program, inside of your project. So here we need to select it. Which one? So it is what is the
Subflow.
name of this one? Types of subflow. So for example, if you want to change this one, we can able to change also. I will stop this program. You can see you can also change this one. For example, I am giving
Subflow one.
otherwise child flow, or otherwise you can see subflow hyphen one. Okay, let's save this one. Then go here. Then go here. You can see it is automatically identifying it. You can see subflow one. We need to call it. Okay. Then so I am placing the one more logger. 1 second. I'm adding one more logger. Let's see what is happening. Oh, Just wait for 2 minutes. I think for the flow reference, always it is going to stuck because it is automatically identifying the metadata for that particular child flow also. So while we're
Okay.
using the flow reference, sometime it is taking time. Don't worry. So after this one, I can place the logger. What is the intention of the logger? I will explain. So this one, end of the main flow. Okay. So this time I can add the breakpoint and let me inspect it in the debug mode, how they are propagating from one step to another step. The console, one second. Yeah, we move to the debugging perspective. So once it is deployed, then we can hit it. So anyone heard about the code reusability, the word code reusability?
Yes.
So what is the meaning of code reusability?
But just to enhance productivity and avoid boilerplate code, we keep
So once you write the code and you can use it any number of times, right?
multiple times. Yes.
That's the one. So that is the philosophy of your subflow, nothing but one. So there is a repeatable code is there. So you no need to design that repeatable code again and again. Once you create the subflow and wherever you need to use that repeatable code, you can call that subflow. That is the intention of your subflow. Just like the module functions are available, na, technically the classes, functions, reusability, inheritance. So that concept they are using the flows and subflows. Okay, let me hit it first, then we will see. I am hitting. Then you can see I am at the main component. So you can see what is the payload. It is coming from my postman. Don't worry. So after this one, you can see. So there is a, you can see what is the flow, what is the logger message it is showing. Now I am
Inside
inside of the
main
main
flow.
flow. Now you can closely observe it. Now we try to execute the flow reference. So what is the intention of this flow reference? The flow reference always calls the whatever the flow you are assigning here. So where is my subflow? Where is my subflow?
Outside
That means it is automatically jumps from this point to that particular flow and start executing of that subflow. Now you can see it is automatically jumps from this point to that particular flow and start executing inside of that subflow. And after executing all the components inside of that subflow, it is again come back to the
main flow.
main flow. Here the what the main flow means, where is your flow reference? For example, your flow is a part of another flow. It is again come back to that after next statement of your flow reference. So this is the way they are propagating. That means so now, so this is the most important one. Then you can see I can draw on the screen. So how they are. So first component got executed, then we have reached to the sixth component. Then what happens? It is automatically jumps to that particular subflow and start executing of this one. Then next, after executing this entire subflow, it
Come
is
back.
again come back to the next component of your flow reference, not to the flow reference. Just remember, next component of your flow reference. This is the way they are propagating from flow to another flow. Okay, so this is one more point you just remember. In the mule point of view, there is no private data is there. Everything it is treated as the public. That means whatever the payload is available at this point, that payload is also available inside of your subflow. Whatever the variables available at this point, those also be accessible inside of your subflow also. Whatever the modifications you are done inside of the subflow, those also will be reflect inside of your
Main flow.
main flow only. That means everything is bidirectional. From main flow we can able to access the data which is generated by subflow. Otherwise inside of the subflow you can able to access the data which is available inside of the main flow. Everything we can able to share it. Okay, so let's check it whether really it is the data is sharing or not. Okay, let me create, let me for example I'm assigning some simple data. For example, okay, what is the payload? You can see I think I'm sending some payload, right? So let's check it, this whether this payload is available inside of the subflow or not. Okay, let me create this one. Then I'm adding one more logger here. Then here I'm printing the payload.
Payload dot
That's payload.
attributes.
Let's check it. So in the subflow, there is no payload is there. Then I want to access the data from my main flow. Okay. So that is my intention after this one. Okay. Let's check it. Save the project. As of now, I'm accessing the data from main flow to the subflow. In the second stage, in second example, we done some modification inside of the subflow. We will check it. Those will be reflect inside of main flow or not. Okay.
Okay.
One by one, we are going to see it. First, we can hit it. I think everyone
Use
completed that file operations. Is there any issues you are facing, or is there any roadblocks while practicing the examples on new update or anything? SFTP, FTP. Just practice it, guys. Okay.
I
So it is a
tried FTP, not SFTP.
okay. SFTP generally we don't have the SFTP servers, no? So don't worry. The FTP and SFTP both seems to be good. Okay, what is the next one? This is the one, right? We need to hit it. Okay, let's check this one. You can see at the debugging each level, we can see I am sending, this is my payload, right? You can see I am sending the payload. Let's see. I'm go to the next component. Now we're at the flow reference component. Then we can move to the flow reference from main flow to the subflow. Now you can see when we enter into the your subflow also, your payload is still available. You can observe it in the debugging mode, it clearly showing. So go and see inside of the logs. You can see now we are at the inside of the now we are at the inside of
Subflow.
subflow, right? Now what is the next logger component do? Whatever the payload is available inside of the subflow, it is going to print it. Now you can see. So what is the data it is printing? What is the data it is printing? This is the data
From
which
main
is
flow.
coming from the your main flow. That means whatever the main payload is available, that is also available inside of your
Subflow.
subflow also. So I'm not done any modification. That's why my payload is never changed, not changed. So everything is comes perfectly. Then this is the simple example.
From
Let's
out of
say
main.
now we will done some modifications. Okay. So whatever the payload is available here, I'm done some modification. Okay. So let us assume this time I am sending the only object data, not a array. For simplifying, just remember. So I am accessing only these two fields only, not remaining everything. Okay, that means I'm creating the some response like this one. What is the one? ID, which is the data is coming from the payload dot. What is the name we are sending? ID only. And what is the one? The name, and it should also be the payload.
Is it not required to call payload dot attributes dot name?
No, no, my data is coming from which one?
Yeah, postman.
Postman body, then where it is available?
Inside the main flow.
No, no, the word. The payload only, right? Itself, the whatever the data you are sending from the
As a part of
postman
payload,
body,
yeah.
that is the payload. So I'm accessing that data only, right? Payload dot,
Name.
what is the one? Name, capital N. That means I'm sending the data like this one. That means inside of the main flow, this is the data, but inside of the subflow, I'm trying to change it. So for the end logger, I'm printing that payload. Otherwise, I can add one more logger and then to avoid it very easy. Let's see. Here I'm printing the payload. Okay. Then we can save the program, try to execute it. Let's wait for it. Okay, it's got the redeployed, then go and hit it. See, this is the data I am sending. It is my program is inside of debugging mode. Then you can see I am passing one single object. Okay, then we move to the next component, the flow reference. Then it is automatically moved From this component to this component, you can see still the same payload is available, right? You guys are observed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we can move to the next component. We print the whatever the payload is available. Here also we can able to inspect same thing. But you can see once this transformation component got executed. So what is your payload? Your
Just
payload
again.
got changed or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
So where you are? Inside of the subflow or inside of the main flow?
Main.
Flow.
That means whatever the modifications you are done for the payload inside of the subflow, those also will be reflect inside of your main flow because everything is shareable. Okay, then we can hit it. Now you can see. So this is the
Can
new one. Yeah,
yeah? Can you show the console part complete? The the lower part. Yeah.
I will show. One second.
In full size.
So,
Yeah.
so
First
this
it
is
is
my
showing.
original payload. So this is the
Yeah.
my end of the payload.
And that
Okay,
logger statement I want to see.
okay, you can see. After the end of the flow, main flow,
Side
I
of
am
the main
printing,
flow.
right?
I'm
Yes.
inside the subflow. End of the main
Yeah.
flow.
Okay. Everything. Okay. So here only we can able to see the debugging mode. There is a payload option is there. Na? There we can inspect generally. Okay. So this is the way whatever the modifications you are done, everything is here. For example, when someone asks this question, so this the, inside of subflow, I am calling another flow. Is it possible or not? Let's check it. For example, I am creating one more subflow. Okay. I can give this name as a subflow 2.
Subflow 2.
Then we can check it whether subflow hyphen TWO2. Then so this is your flow. So what is my requirement inside of this subflow 2? I want to call this one. Otherwise, let us say I am placing the logger
Inside sub.
inside subflow. Inside of subflow 1, I am calling this one. Let's check this one.
Inside subflow 2.
Inside of
Sub.
subflow 2. Okay, 1 minute, guys. So let's see. So how we can able to call this one here? How we can call
Trans.
the another by using which component we can able to
Flow
call it.
reference. Flow
So
reference.
where is that one? Flow reference we can place here. Okay. So here just remember. Okay. First we will call this one, then we can discuss about this one. Subflow 2. Okay. Then we can save it. Okay. Let's check this one. Everything is we can set the debugging point now. Then we will run this. Just wait. I think we need to debug it. Is it debugged? No. Just wait for it. Yes, it deployed. Then we can hit it one more time. Let's inspect it in the debug mode. You can see generally don't always depending on the loggers. You can see in the debugging everything we can able to see here. You can see this is my payload. Always
Yes.
good practice is just go to the debugging window. Here you can select the payload. Then here we can able to see everything. Just always follow this one only. Okay, then we can go here. The next component. Now we are at the flow reference level. Is there any payload changes? No. Then we are moved from the main flow to the subflow one.
Subflow.
Then you can see the payload is not changed. Then we can move it. After executing the transformation message, your payload got changed. Then
Yes.
again inside of your subflow, again you are calling one more flow. Okay, now we are this one. Now my question is after executing this one, where it goes? That is my question. You guys tell me.
It will come to subflow 1 first.
Subflow one, right?
To the
After
main
that one,
flow.
After it,
it remains
then
there and it again go back to your main flow.
again go back to main flow.
Let's see what happens. Now you can see why it is coming. Maybe it is seems to be directly go to the main flow, but you can see technically there is no next component is there, right?
Hmm.
That's why it is going directly to the main flow. Okay, I will show you that one scenario also. So I can place one more logger inside after this logger flow reference component. Uh, we can
End of
place
subflow
this,
one.
yes,
End of
end of
subflow one.
the
Subflow one.
subflow one. Otherwise, I can give it. Okay, let's save it. So always remember this terminology. You can see button, but that means after executing of your subflow, after reaching of end of subflow, again those will be go
Main.
back to the where we can go back.
Main flow.
Main flow or otherwise next component of your flow reference.
Yes.
Main flow or next component to the flow reference. Which one?
Next component to the flow
Next
Next
reference.
component
component
of
to
the
flow
flow
That
data.
is the
reference.
one. Always remember your flow directly not go to the main flow. It is always you can see for this one. What is the main flow? There is no main. This is the main flow technically. After executing of this one, it is automatically go to the next component of your
Mm,
flow reference. That is the
mm,
point. Always remember it.
mm.
Okay. Let's see whether those are propagating that manner or not. Now we are into the subflow one. Everything is come here. Now we go to the subflow. Then you can
Mm.
see next component of the flow
The
reference. This
flow
is the end
reference.
one. Then so this flow is called by this flow reference, right? Then
Mm.
again it could go back to that next
Next
component, the flow
component.
reference. So this is the way they are propagating. Just remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can you show that
Yeah.
logger statement?
1 second. Yeah, I will show you.
It will be
Yeah.
more clear from
Yes, you can
beginning.
see. So this is a
Inside of the
main,
main
I
flow.
think. Okay. Inside of
Last
subflow,
is
this is
flow.
the data, original data I am sending. After this one, I am calling the
Inside of the
subflow 2.
subflow two.
Then end of the subflow 1.
One.
Uh, After this one, I am calling the, again it is
And
propagating back to the main
end
flow.
of
After this
last.
one, yes one.
Got
Okay.
it.
So this is the way they are propagating from one flow to the another flow. Okay. So this is all about the flows. For example, we are talking about private flows now. So what is the specialty of the private flow? Is there something error is happened? So how we can able to handle the error means we need to add the error handler for the technically subflows that have that much of flexibility handle the errors. For the error handling, we need to create the one. Let me call one private flow. I think then it is very easy. You can see I'm drag and drop the one component. Now you can see
Srinath,
technically, yeah.
You try logger, I
sorry to
guess.
interrupt you.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
See, here one point I'm not getting. So, what is the need of creating subflows here when we can do everything in main
Yeah.
flow?
No, 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 no. I will, I
Code
will.
reusability.
No, 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 no. I will explain one simple example, then you can understand. So
Okay.
what is the exact need of subflow and where we can use it? Okay. Let me first we will see this one, then we can see it. Okay.
Okay.
So for example, you can see what kind of flow it is. Is it subflow or a main flow?
Main flow.
That main flow without having the source, then technically and theoretically what we call it, this is the private flow. For example, you want this one, so no problem, we can able to call it. For example, after this component I want to that one. That means your flow reference can call. You can see. I'm 1 second. What is the flow reference? So your flow reference automatically call your flow, subflow, and everything. I think what is the one? This is the one. What name I remembered? Okay. Now, so this is the call. For example, someone asked this question. Maybe I am repeating that question. So what is the name of this flow? I think
Type of
I changed this one.
main
Let
flow.
me
Main flow.
change, then we can understand very easily. So this is my flow name. For example, inside of the flow reference, I'm pointing to main flow. Then what happens, guys?
It is calling itself.
That means it is a never-ending loop.
Yes.
Yes. Deadlock.
Yeah, sometimes this is the one of the interview question. Just keep in mind. So the what how they are asking means your flow reference, is it allow you to call the same flow, or otherwise is it allow you to call the self flow? Yes, by using the flow reference we can able to call your self flow, but it is not going to end it because it is keep on calling
Looping.
calling calling looping, right? So this is the one, maybe in sometimes tricky questions if they want to ask it, then this is the expected interview question. Okay, so just remember it. Okay, this is the one. Generally, we can call the flow reference. This is the way. For example, again, someone asked me what is the need of creating this subflow. For example, is there any arithmetic operations API is there, right? I will show you there. Okay, I can close this project,
Save.
save. Then, yeah, you can see this is the add operation is there, there is subtraction is there, you can see. So what is the my intention is every time I want to call when we starting of any particular component, I want to display the starting time. At the end, I want to display the end time. That is my requirement. You guys are getting my point?
Yeah.
So how we can generally do it? Generally, how we can display the starting time? You can generally we can place the logger, right? Generally. So inside of the logger, you can call the mule expression, that is the now. By
Now,
using the now, we can able to display the time. Of the end also, we can able to display the your time. Then you can place the high. Here also, we need to display the now function, right? So for this one, you can see for this one, we need to place two logger. Again, when we calling this one also, I need to display my time. How we can able to do that one? Again, we need to display, again, we need to place the two more logger then, right?
Yes.
So instead of that one, what I'm going to do it, I'm creating one flow. The new configuration file I'm creating, then I can place like this one, common flows. Okay, so inside of the common flow, what I'm going to create is I'm placing the ones of flow. Okay, this we can change it as a start times of flow. So inside of this one, I'm placing the logger. Okay, so here I'm displaying the time.
now,
Okay, otherwise I can more meaningfully
starting time.
start time. Then we can write my mule expression, the now function. Okay. This is the one. For example, I want to display the end flow, right? Then how we can able to, I'm creating one more subflow. Then I can place this subflow name as a start time, right? So we can place it as a end time subflow. Then we can place the logger here. Okay. So here we can place it as a ending time. We can call this one as a now generally. Okay. Then that's it. Okay, so now what is your requirement at the end? I don't want to create the logger separately. So I already created the flows for this one. So instead of call this one, what I'm going to create, I'm calling the flow reference, right? So the simple example, the starting one, starting times of flow, right? Then we are placing the ends of flow. What is the end, right? So this is the way we can reusable that piece of the code again and again. For example, you want to change the starting time and ending time logic. So you can simply go to this flow and you can change the logic. So according to that one, those flows will be called, right? You guys are understand? So what now you can understand what is the concept of the reusability.
Yes.
Yes,
So let us assume, for example, there is one more flow is there. Every time you are enter into the log, we need to validate that particular user is authenticated or not. So how we can able to do that one? We can create a once of flow. That so flow intention is it is automatically authenticated, right? So whenever a repeatable code is there, so then we can then we can create the subflow and we can call that subflow again and again. Okay. So in the future sessions, you can understand more clearly one by one. Okay, don't worry. As of now, just take it this example, just like this one, we can create a one common flow. So instead of calling that one, we can create this one. Got it, guys? Hello.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
got it.
So this is the way we can able in the future one by one you can understand everything. As of now, just remember by using the flow reference. Okay, let me close this one. We can go back to our first example. So there is one particular thing you always remember it when we calling the flow reference, you can see. So by default, you can see whatever the output is coming, you can see what is this one? Target value and target. There are two things available. You can see. So whatever the output is generated by your subflow, it is automatically available inside of the word payload. Otherwise, I want to store whatever the payload is coming from your component. I want to store it inside of a variable, not inside of the payload. Then here we can able to specify that variable name. Okay. So just remember. Okay, after using the flow reference, you can able to store your data inside of the payload. Otherwise, we can able to store that entire data inside of a variable also. Okay, so
Which data coming from the data coming
yeah,
from main?
you can see what is the what here. Let us see 1 second. Once I can simplify it. These many subflows, I am removing it. Let me create one simple one. Then I will explain. I think this is the one, right? So this is the data is coming. You guys are understand? Okay. So whatever you can see after calling this one, so what is the data it is returning?
ID and
This
name.
flow, right? ID and name. So ideally, where it is storing this entire data inside of the what variable, inside of the what payload only, right?
Yes.
But you can see whatever the data written by this flow, I don't want to store that entire data inside of the word payload. I want to store that entire data inside of a variable. Got it? Generally, how we can able to store the variable? We can use the set variable
Wait,
component and we need to provide it, right? So
yes.
instead of that manually doing, it is automatically do that work. You can see I'm creating the variable. For example, we can give v and we can give what is the variable name v data. I can give it. Let's check it. Okay, let's save the program. Here, this is the payload. After this one, I am placing one more logger and I am placing the data, sorry, data inside of variable. How we can get the data inside of the variable data?
Wait.
No. How we can get it? Data inside of a variable.
Where's
Class dot
Where's dot?
v
v
data.
data?
Let's check it. So we can add the breakpoint. 1 second. Then save it. Let's try it. So whatever the component running inside of this flow, after executing this one, it is returning the some output. That entire output I am setting not inside of the payload. I am setting this output inside of a variable. Let's check it. According to that one, we are getting the data or not. Because in sometimes we don't want to override the existing payload, but we need to collect your output of your subflow. So in those situations, we can use this one. Okay, let's deploy it. Then we can hit this one. Now we will see at level. The payload, original payload is there still after executing this flow conference. Now you can see, is there any variables are still there? Is there any variables are created
No.
yet? No, then I can see. Second component, you can see after executing the transform message, what is your payload? What is your payload?
Same.
The same, what is that means?
Original one.
Initial payload, right? But in previous example, what it happens after executing our subflow, your payload got changed. But now you can see whatever the
Overall.
components are executing subflow, you can see your payload is stored inside of a variable. Now you can see it. Previously there is no variable is there. After executing of transformation, after ending of the subflow, so whatever the payload is there, it is directly go to the
Variable.
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 How, why it is going? Because you are setting the target value. Okay, now we will see at the end. Go and see the logs, you can see. So this is the data inside of a variable, this is the data inside of the payload. That means your initial payload is not affected, and whatever the output of your subflow, that will be collected inside of a
Variable.
variable. So this is the way also we can able to preserve your initial payload. without touching your original transformation logic of your subflow. Okay, so how we can set that one? What is the one?
Target.
So he also, you can see, if you want to load the entire output, then we can able to use the payload. Otherwise, some part of the data only you want to collect it. For example, there are 20 objects of data is there, but inside of the variable you want to store only particular object. Then you can able to give here. For example, I'm giving a payload dot. What is the one? ID, right? For example, I'm giving ID. That means everything I am not saving. Only that particular ID only I want to save it. Let's check it whether it is coming or not. Whether that is coming or not. Now we can hit this one. Let's check this one. So this is your initial payload. No problem. There are no variables are there. Let's check this one. After executing of transformation message, now we will see it. So is there any payload changes?
No.
No.
Then go and see inside of the variable. You
Only
can see there is only one available. One thing is available. 1099. What is this value?
ID.
Now, so what happens to the name and everything? Because you are setting the target inside of the target,
Specific.
you are specific one only you are accessing. So this is the way also you can able to set the target values. Okay, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. So generally, ideal cases, 90% we are using the word payload only. Okay, in some cases. Okay, so this is the way we can able to propagate from one flow to another flow, and we can set the target one and everything. Okay, so wherever there is a repeatable logic is there, then we need to create a subflow and we need to call them by using the
Flow reference.
flow reference. That is the first one. Or the second thing, whatever the data is available inside of the main flow, that is also accessible inside
Subflow.
of this subflow. Whatever the modifications you are done, so those will be also reflected on the main flow.
Main flow.
So if you want to, if those modification will not reflect, then we can set the target variable. So inside of the target variable we can able to collect that output. So this is the way we can able to propagate the data in between flows and subflows. Got it, guys?
Yes.
So this is the way. So where we can use and how we can create the subflow, and depending on the experience and depending on the project scenarios you are getting. So don't worry. Everything you can easily utilize it. Okay. In coming sessions, one by one, we can create the subflows and we can call it, and we will see all the scenarios. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Is there any doubts here?
So this is regarding flow and subflow, right?
Yes, only. Yeah.
So private and asynchronous we'll see that later.
No. What is the private flow? You can see, I think I already covered that private flow. Yeah. You can see I am placing. So there is no source is there, but it comes with the error handling, right? So what is the
Yeah.
need of error handling? At the error handling, then you can understand why we need to create the private flow, because you can see something happen. Some error is rises. Your subflow doesn't handle that error because there is no error handler is there directly, but indirectly you can able to handle it. So if you want to add the error handling mechanism, then we can create the private flow.
Right.
So so
Yeah.
the only difference between subflow and private flow is private flow comes with error handling,
Yes. And with the triggering mechanism.
triggering.
Yeah. That's the one. But in the subflow also we can able to introduce your error handling, but indirectly. So at the error handling concept, I will discuss all those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As of
Yeah.
now, just remember all these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, can you open that
Yeah.
notepad you share with us initially? Yeah. So here source is missing in private flow.
Yes.
So here, so to call private flow, we also need flow reference.
You can, that means you can see by using the flow reference, you can able to call the flow, you can able to call the subflow, you can able to call the private flow. It is common.
Okay.
Yeah, in the first example, we place the flow reference and we can point the same main flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means what happens, it is keep on executing, keep on execute. That means by using the flow reference, you can call any flow, not particular subflow. So you can able to call any flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in particularly in private flow, it is missing. source is missing, triggering
No,
point
no,
is
no. Yeah,
missing.
so
So we
the
have to call
technically,
externally.
no. Technically, there is no private flow is there. When we
Okay,
remove the source part from the flow part, then
it
that
become
we
private.
can call it as a private flow. What is the need of creating the private flow means by default, it comes with the error handler.
Okay,
So we no need to design any error handling mechanism explicitly. Generally, otherwise we need to create it by using the try scope. We need to create the error handler. So
yeah.
there I will like, yeah.
Then my question is, why need private flow when we have flow? Because in flow also we have error handling, source,
Right.
process.
Okay. Yeah. For example, there is a, I think I am performing operation like this one. Let's see. For example, I will show you one scenario. So is it a valid operation? Is it a valid
No,
operation? That
no,
means definitely this component raises an error.
error.
Is there any error handling mechanism is there?
No, in
Then
subflow there is no
who
error.
can then who can take care of these errors?
Either flow or private
No,
flow.
no, no. Inside of subflow, is it possible?
No,
Then it is
Should go to the
automatically
main flow, I
propagate to
guess.
the main flow only. But I
yes,
don't want to propagate that error to the main flow. I want to handle that error inside of the subflow. Is it possible as of now?
no,
Then, for example, the same thing is happened inside of here. I'm placing this one here. So this component raises an error where it is going.
error handling.
That now you can understand what is the specialty of flow. The flow
Yes,
automatically comes with the error handler. When any error rises, first it go to the error handling. But
mm,
that flexibility is not available inside of your subflow. That error should be again throw back to the your main flow. That next flow reference. Is there any error handler is there? Then there only we can able to handle it.
okay,
Right?
yeah,
So to avoid that things, we can creating the sometimes private flow. Otherwise, we can handle the errors by using the triscope. You can see when we using the triscope here, you can see it is automatically comes with the.
handling. Yeah,
So there is
it's
no direct is there, but we can able to do it.
okay. So we can put that error
Yeah.
part inside the try block where
Yes.
there is a
Yes.
possibility of error.
Yes. Yeah. In the error handler is there. I think the 7 days we can spend there. There I can cover all the scenarios
Yeah,
how
okay,
they are
okay.
propagated. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys. Is
Much
there
clear.
any? Yeah. Is there any other doubts here from others?
No.
No. Okay, guys. Tomorrow we are going to start the CRUD operation over the DB. So I think we can spend at least 5 days on the DB sessions. I will explain. So meanwhile, you guys are anyone not having any idea about the database select query, basic queries enough, guys. So you don't need to be expert knowledges on the database. Just at least let's see how we can create a table, how we can write a select command, where conditions. That is enough, more than enough. And you can see that basic commands, and the second one is just see the structure of stored procedures. So what is the stored procedure, how we can call the stored procedure? Let's just view on the database. Okay, just go through the any tutorial, just tutorial point, otherwise just go through that basics of database. Okay, then because in the real time, so 90% we need to work on the database side. So we need to pick the data from the tables, and for that one we no need to write any queries in real time. Just remember, maybe tutorials you can able to see everything is coming from the data by writing the select commie event, but the real time we need to call the stored procedures only. Every time we need to call the stored procedures, and the rarely we need to write the select command. Okay, so I will show more on stored procedures. Okay, guys. So anyone not having any idea about database, just go through any tutorial and have a look on that one. Okay.
Okay,
So
which database we are going to see?
you
Is
can see we are
in our
using the
tutorial.
SQL. No. You can see you don't stick to anyone. You can just go to the SQL commands.
Okay,
Yeah, the SQL commands are common for the any database. Don't worry about it. 90% all the common, depending on some syntaxes are changed, MySQL, Oracle. That's what I'm telling. So you no need to write any queries. You need to call the SPs. For the SPs, both are same. You using Oracle, MySQL, or PostgreSQL, all the same.
okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, guys, that's all from my side today. Is there any doubts? Then you can ask me. Otherwise, we can close the session. Yeah.
Actually, I've got a question for this.
Yeah.
I was just really wondering, do you
One
suggest
second.
any book available?